Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and where has Shaps gone? He was just
He
here.
left immediately.
He
Right when
said,
we started.
psych. He said, psych, I'm not talking about the UConn game. You guys can forget it. So, well,
He'll
we
be
have
back.
Kent here. Kent, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. That was really weird though, because he was just here. But a moment ago, we were sitting here chopping it up with Shaps, and like, as soon as the intro ended, he's gone. Disappeared like
There he
magic. That
is.
was crazy. There he is. Oh,
Shaps,
he's
we came
back.
back for the video, and you were just gone.
Always issues over here.
Well, Shaps is back with us. Shaps, how you doing tonight, man?
Hanging in there. Got the women's game on right now. Iowa repping the Big Ten. Looking pretty good. Caitlin Clark always putting on a show.
Yeah, what she had like 30 plus at this point or something like that. I think last time.
Yeah, I think she had 28 in the first half or something.
Oh my gosh, it's wild.
Hey, can I ask you guys a Big Ten question real quick before we get started? Are we allowed to claim acquired national championships like the Maryland national championship? Because I'm getting into it with guys on Twitter right now about the hockey thing. Apparently the Big Ten, I didn't even know this, by the way. Hand up, I didn't know this, but I made this tweet about how the Big Ten has 23 hockey national championships, and apparently that's not true because they have 0 because the Big Ten conference in hockey was just formed. We get the Big Ten gets those teams. We get the championships, right? Back me on this, right, boys?
You'd think so.
I say Maryland's a little bit different because like Maryland was with the ACC when that happened, but like all those teams are in the Big Ten and everything else. So like,
I know.
yeah, I'd say yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh, it's the CCHA that has those." I'm like, "No, that's not a thing. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a moment."
No, I say they're wrong and they're dumb. Tell them.
Thanks, man.
Big Ten uses
Thanks. I needed that backup tonight.
Say I am
confidence
casual
booster.
Big Ten, and I am declaring that we get the Big Ten titles in hockey. All right. Well, while we wait for some of our Purdue fans to get in here, we're going to talk to Purdue and the Illinois stuff. We're also going to talk some transfer portal stuff. Maryland has been pretty active here lately, and they've also had a few players leave. And there's a rumor about another player that is a pretty high up there player that, we'll get into it later on. And then another big-time player, Dain Dainja, entered the portal just earlier today, and he's one of my favorite players in college basketball, so I just overrided everything else and said, let's do an entire segment on him. So I literally sent out the show sheet to these guys, and then I saw the news, and I was like, oh, don't go by this. Something's going to change because we have to talk about Dain Dainja. But we'll start with the USC coach first. Andy Enfield, on-field, whatever. I'm always terrible with last names. He is leaving for SMU, and at the end of the day, we can try to say all we want about, like, did USC want him to leave? Did SMU want him? Did SMU, is that a better job? It's not a better job. At the end of the day, he coached there for 11 years and won a lot of games, but he underperformed what USC's expectations were, and he underperformed with the recruits that he was getting in. Now, we're going to talk about Bronny James in a minute, what this means for him and that kind of stuff, but Shaps, let's go to you first. What was your reaction seeing the USC coach who's been there, like I said, for 11 years, not like he's just there for a little bit. What was your reaction to seeing him leave?
That was my first reaction, was when I saw the tweet that he's been there for 11 years. I'm like, seems like Dunk City was just yesterday. I can't believe he's been there for 11 years already. USC, I mean, now that they're joining the Big Ten, I'll start paying attention a little bit more, but they don't seem like they've been super relevant since he's been there. I know they went to an Elite Eight a couple of years ago, but they only made the tournament 5 times in his 11 years there, which I gotta imagine they were expecting a little bit more from that. So, I imagine both sides were okay sort of parting ways. He was obviously getting good talent. He's had a bunch of NBA picks, but I think USC, wants to see a little more success than just getting, 1 or 2 big players each year. They actually want to compete, especially now being in the Big Ten. And SMU's going to be joining the ACC, which is interesting. The ACC has just as weird of a footprint now as the Big Ten. Isn't Stanford and others? Who else is joining from like the West Coast?
Stanford and Cal.
Yeah, going to play teams in the Carolinas, so that'll be interesting. But it kind of fits SMU, I think, with their big pocket donors. They want to make a splash, so he'll probably fit right in there, I would think. But from USC's perspective, I gotta think they're pretty happy to move on. Obviously, I'm curious as to like how big of a job or how good of a job USC is. I don't really know. Obviously, it's a football school. I was actually in their basketball arena when I went to the Rose Bowl. Michigan's pep rally was in their basketball arena. Wasn't that great? It was like a cool design, but it was not screaming like, yeah, we're gonna pack this place with fans and like try to win championships. It was basically like, it was more like a theater almost. It had like a stage on one end of the court. It was interesting setup for sure.
We had that in my high school, and that's where the pet band sat, was on the stage. So maybe they just had a pet band back in the day, and
I guess so, yeah. So we'll see, because the names that are already being floated out there, like the Muss Bus and some others. I have no idea what kind of job USC is, honestly. So I guess we'll find out soon enough.
I mean, I think it's a job with potential. Like, you're in California, there's a ton of good players out in California, and like, you're not going to have the most passionate fans in the world, but there's a lot of people out there, right? That's why the NFL and everybody else keeps wanting to put people out teams out in LA. It's like, even though you're not going to have the most rabid fans in the world, there's a lot of people out there, so you're bound to at least get 10,000 a game or something like that eventually. So, I was looking at what 24/7 was saying with some of their hot board candidates. I mean, I feel like this kind of tells you what the job is. Jason Hart, a G League head coach, Eric Musselman, who's like the Matt Campbell of college basketball right now, where he just gets mentioned for every single job. Kevin Ollie, that's all I have to say about him.
Where's he at right now? Where's Kevin Ollie? What happened to him?
He is an interim head coach with the Brooklyn Nets. So,
didn't know that.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Good for him.
That's what this article says. So, we'll believe the article. Nico Medved,
yeah,
the
Colorado
State.
Good
Mark
coach.
Madsen. I don't think Nico Medved would go there. I feel like he'd hold out for another one. But anyway, Mark Madsen. I know this.
I'm going to throw my name in the hat, too.
podcasting
Can you put
right
my
here,
name in
reading off
there?
Names. Yeah, Kent.
Kent from Casual Big Ten. I'm going to throw my name right in there. I'll do it. Like, if they really need a coach, like, I'll come out there. I could put together a staff. I'll have JR on recruiting. Shaps will be my like assistant coach, like defensive specialist. I'm assuming you're really good at coaching defense. And we'll get some things going. We'll make sure we hang on to Bronny. Is he staying next year? I can't imagine he is. Just based on that. Also, did he have anything to do with this? We know the history with that family, like kind of controlling coaches. Did he have a say in this?
Who knows? Maybe.
They probably consulted him, yeah.
You think so? That'd be ridiculous.
Well, Ohio State was going to hire Dusty May just because that's who LeBron wanted them to hire, but I don't know how much truth there is to that. That was a rumor I heard, but that was the rumor that LeBron James wanted Dusty May at Ohio State, so that way he could send his son there, which his next son is much better than Bronny James, so that would have been a little bit of a plus. But I think Fisherman is exactly right. Enfield leaving before getting fired, smart. I don't see, like, even though I'm kind of unsure, like you, Shaps, about the USC job, like, I don't see anything about the SMU basketball job that is better than the USC basketball job. You're just another one in the big pool of Texas, and you're going to the ACC, which I don't even think they're earning any money there. Like, I don't.
They don't need. They have so much money at SMU. It's
right.
It's crazy. So they're not worried about that.
It's
But
like
now
Oregon and Washington, they're getting
now
like
that
half.
now that they're going to the ACC, like they're gonna want to, make an impact. They've raised, I was reading, like just hundreds of millions of dollars to put into the basketball program.
Yeah, their fisherman says that SMU's not getting TV money. Yeah,
I do think that if you're going to do it, though, like any of these schools that are joining this year, like Washington just did it as well, right? Like they just let go of their coach. Like this is the time to do it. It's like a fresh start. You're joining a new conference, so like let's get a guy in here that is going to take us into that new conference, whoever that guy may be. Hopefully it's Kevin Ollie, obviously the interim head coach of the Brooklyn Nets at this point. Let's get Kevin Ollie in here and start a new chapter of our book, if you will, joining this new conference. It's a good time to do it. I feel like if you're even like teetering on thinking about getting rid of your coach, now is the perfect time, right?
yeah. No, I think you're right. And at the end of the day, you can kind of use that excuse like, oh, we're in a new conference and things are hard. Give our new coach a little bit of extra time. But, you wouldn't have got that with the other coach. Real fast before we end, Bronny James, we brought him up before. But, I feel like he is going to the NBA. I don't think any team is really ecstatic about drafting him alone. I think they're more ecstatic about the possibility of getting LeBron James to come over so that way his son can play 2 minutes a game. And LeBron can be happy and be on the court with his son a little bit, and then you, poof, have LeBron James with you. Do you see it the same way as me, Sheps?
Yeah, he's obviously not ready for the NBA. I don't know if he ever will be. He's a very good player, but yeah, you're just drafting him to get LeBron, obviously. So maybe he goes first overall. I don't know.
That'd be ridiculous.
It's a 2-for-1, yeah.
Watch him go before Zach Edey. That would be.
I actually wouldn't be surprised about that at all. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Watch him go, and you're.
This is the worst draft. This is the worst draft class they're saying ever. So I would absolutely consider taking Bronny at number 1,
just so you can get LeBron for a year or two.
Yeah, and sell tickets.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like you're going to look back on NBA draft boards for years and it's going to be like, how did the 2-time National Player of the Year, Zach Edey, go at 15 and Bronny James, 2-year player? Like, how did he go 4th or 1st? Like, how did that happen? But Kent, you have any thoughts on the Bronny James of the NBA?
Yeah, I feel like if he goes, I know it's like a big – the NBA is a big organization, but the owners are a tight-knit group. I feel like there could be an agreement between them to be like, hey, we're not drafting this kid. Like, let's figure it out after the fact. We'll sign him, and then that'll be the best place for him and his, old dad to go finish his career, I don't think – I would be very surprised if he got – he's definitely not, like Shep says, he's not getting drafted off his talent alone. It'll be just a publicity stunt for him, for LeBron to come in. So, and once again, he is a good player. He's a very good college player. He could be a great college player if he stuck around. But at this point, he's not ready for the NBA, and I don't think that he will get drafted. But he will be signed very quickly after the draft is over, I believe.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm as high on Bronny James as you guys are. He played like 20 minutes a game and had like 5 points a game. And I know he came off like the cardiac arrest thing, which like thank God that he's okay and he's able to play basketball again and all that stuff. I'm obviously not trying to, say anything about that. I'm very glad that he's okay there. But at the end of the day, I watched USC basketball a little bit this year. I didn't see anything from Bronny James that I was like, oh, this, one of the best freshmen from the class. He looked like a mid 4-star. Not calling him mid, but I'm saying like in comparison to the other guys, he didn't look anything spectacular compared to some of the other guys in that.
Yeah, but his dad actually played 0 minutes in college, and you see how that worked out for him.
That's
so
true.
You got to take that into account.
And how many shoes has he averaged for the Ohio State basketball team? Like 2 a year.
True.
Like 2 pairs of shoes a year. So LeBron might start sending his shoes to Michigan, though. They hired Dusty May, and that's who LeBron wanted at Ohio State. So who knows? Maybe we'll see LeBron shoes in Michigan. But all right, let's go on to the next one here. Purdue beats Gonzaga 80-68. They then go and beat Tennessee 72-66. Obviously we could spend 20 minutes talking about refereeing and all that stuff if we want to. This Purdue and Tennessee game was the game that I decided I was going to live tweet the officials in a positive manner.
Hilarious,
And,
by the way. Hilarious.
Thank
Hilarious.
you. I lost 7 followers because of that, which,
worth it.
I've just it is what it is. Because in this day and age, you can't say anything good, you can't say anything bad about the refs, otherwise people are gonna get mad. So, but anyway, Kent, what were your thoughts on these 2 games and just Purdue's performance overall?
What I have to know though, like, because when I was watching that go down live on Twitter, you were being sarcastic, right? Or are you not going to say that right now?
100%.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure. I wasn't reading that wrong.
It was painful to tweet those things.
Yeah. I'll skip ahead to the last game because I hate Tennessee. I hate the SEC in general. So anytime the Big Ten can like take down one of those teams, especially Tennessee. I live in Tennessee, so I'm pretty like wild to even be saying that right now because
they're gonna come to your
and maybe
house.
that's why because
Come
I'm
get
around them so much and they're so arrogant for no apparent reason whatsoever. But I loved the game. And I've said this multiple times in the last few weeks throughout the tournament. I like watching Purdue. I think they're fun to watch. I think that Zach Edey's tough to be officiated, and he was officiated correctly throughout these last 2 games. I think. I mean, he's a big dude. He's hard to stop. Tennessee didn't have anybody that could stop him. They had to follow him and put him on the line. But besides that, though, man, there's so many other plays in this game that happened that you can point at and say that this Purdue team is still fun to watch. Fletcher Lawyer hits a big 3, multiple big 3s in this game. Lance Jones down the stretch hits a massive 3-pointer. And without that there's like still a chance that Tennessee could win this game. Other guys just stepping up. Mason Gillis playing pretty well in the first game against Gonzaga. I just love watching this team in general. I'm happy for Matt Painter. He took so much crap last year for losing to a 16 seed, not being able to advance in this tournament, and now kind of like Zach Edey said in the postgame, like, look at us now. We're in the Final Four. No one can tell us anything. And you love to see it. As a fan of the Big Ten in general, you just absolutely love to see it, especially, like I said, taking down a team from the SEC. It was just a great night for me. I was happy. I enjoyed it.
Was that when Edey dropped the F-bomb, the quote you were referencing there?
There was a couple different quotes. There was the I have a boner quote. There was that one right after the game, which was hilarious. But then, yeah, he did drop the F-bomb. But then after the game in the press conference, he was talking about how Rick Barnes didn't recruit him and how Tennessee is like, he's a great coach for Tennessee, but it's so funny it's kind of funny to hear it from somebody that's so tall and so dominant right now, but he was overlooked and like no one can say anything to him now. And it's, I don't know. I feel like that was kind of weird. The rest of it I was okay with, but the part about him being overlooked, it's like, dude, you're not going to get a letter from 300 colleges and they're not all going to come to your games and make sure that you're coming to their school. I don't know, man. But like I said, though, everything that Zach Edey said, it doesn't take away from the fact that no one can tell Purdue anything now, though, because they are in the Final Four. And they did take a ton of crap throughout this last year for going down to double-digit seeds multiple years in a row. So I'm happy for him, man. There's a couple guys on that team that are easy to cheer for. Even if you don't like Zach Edey, you can still attach to those guys and get excited about this team next weekend.
Yeah, I get the thank you, Dylan. We appreciate your contribution in the chat there. I'm sure that's what everybody's want to talk about. I get where Zach Edey was coming from with his like he was overlooked thing. I can't stand Ohio State basketball fans because they're all idiots. Not all of them. Fisherman's good, but a lot of them are, because there were Ohio State basketball fans that were like, why is this Edey guy saying that he was overlooked? Like, he's one of the best players in the nation. It's like, no, because he wasn't even a top 300 recruit, and he had like 2 D1 offers. And now he had as many D1 offers as he is National Player of the Year. I think you're allowed to say you were overlooked. Now, I get why rival fans don't like to hear that. That's fine. But I think when you've won as many National Players of the Year as D1 offers as you had, like, it's okay to say you were at least overlooked, like in my mind. But yeah, I mean, it's just to me, it's all about the greatness of Zach Edey, and he played 38 minutes against Gonzaga, 39 minutes against Tennessee. I mean, how many 7'4" dudes, 300-pound dudes are you going to see out there playing, back-to-back games in 2 days, nearly 80 minutes? I mean, you're not going to see that hardly ever. And so, I mean, just he's fantastic. He's amazing. And we can argue about refs all we want, but at the end of the day, Zach Edey earned every bit of respect out of that. So, Shaps, if you don't want to keep going on about how great Zach Edey is, that's fine. But your thoughts on the 2 games?
Yeah, I don't need to continue to talk about Zach Edey. He's really good. He has nothing more to prove to anyone. Players are going to use whatever they need to get motivated, and they should. And Zach Edey's the best player in college basketball. He's completely dominant. So he deserves it. And it's fun to see a lot of people seeing him sort of for the first time. You get the reactions, you get the referee comments and all that stuff. And we've been watching him for so long. I've seen so many games of Purdue. So it's kind of funny to see the more national reactions to him. It was a fun game though. Tennessee would have won this game if they got help from anybody not named Dalton Knecht. Anyone. If anyone on Tennessee makes a shot, they probably can win this game. Knecht had 37 points, wasn't even the leading scorer in the game, and he had 37 points, had zero help, none at all. Zakai Ziegler, who's really solid, usually 1 of 8 from 3. Nobody else on Tennessee was even in double figures. Dalton Knecht basically did it on his own and kept his
James
team.
Didn't have double figures in this game?
No.
I don't know his first name because I felt like he was having an impact on the game, maybe not scoring-wise, but it felt like I kept seeing his name a lot. It felt like he was involved in a lot of plays. I don't know. What's his first name, James?
Nobody was making shots.
Does anyone know his name?
I can't remember.
I'm going to shout him out. I'm giving Tennessee credit after I just said I hated them.
Dalton Knecht is insane how good he is. They could not stop him. I have no idea what Matt Painter was thinking at the start of this game. He had little Braden Smith guarding him, and no offense to Braden, but he's like half of Dalton Knecht's size.
I was say he just doesn't have the size to guard Dalton Knecht. Like
I didn't understand that at all. And then they tried who else did they put on him? They tried somebody else, and then like finally they went to their best defender, Lance Jones, and that's when Dalton Knecht still had a huge game, but like it wasn't to the degree that he was just completely dominating in the first half. I don't know what Painter was thinking on that. It was very bizarre decision. But the Vols hung around. It was a fun game because it was honestly just like watching 2 of the best players in college basketball go at it back and forth. So that was really fun. It's just that Purdue got more contributions from other guys like Lawyer and Smith. Gillis was really off from 3. Other guys were not really contributing that much. But it didn't matter so much because Tennessee, towards the end of the game, they just couldn't get a rebound. Like Purdue was getting 2 chances almost every time. Tennessee could not get a rebound, so that's what really kind of put them away in the end. Oh, and shout out to Fletcher Lawyer too for surviving that horrific cheap shot. Stop what that was a classless cheap shot by Zakai Ziegler, just pushing him like that. I cannot believe that Lawyer was able to get up from that and continue playing. Just an absolute warrior. Absolute warrior. Fletcher
if that
Lawyer.
happened to a guy, like if there's, I know there's not really a guy like that on Illinois, but if you did have a guy like that on your team, wouldn't you be jacked that he like was trying to do that though, or no? Or would you still be like, dude? Because immediately when he did it, I was like, I think I can't even repeat the first text that I sent. I was just like, this guy is basically what I said. You can fill in the blanks right there. But, like, if he's on my team, though, I feel like I'm very excited about it, though, because he's trying to draw the foul there. No? You're still not?
Your team had all the momentum, and then you tried to do something like that. He nearly concussed himself. He threw himself down on the floor so hard. Did you see the replay? His head was an inch away from just smashing onto the court. He almost knocked himself out of the game for no reason at all. The ref was standing. It's like he thinks there aren't cameras.
I think the timing was weird too.
Right? That's honestly, the timing made no sense at all. They had all the momentum going. Like, it was completely out of nowhere. The ref was standing right in front of him and just like was looking at him on the ground. Like, are you serious? It was an incredible play. Really, hell of an effort by Fletcher Lawyer on that play.
Dylan's gonna come in here and take us all out.
What is he going to say, though? It was so clearly, honestly, what is Dylan going to say? It was so clearly a flop.
There's no defense of what he just did.
And like, I'm not mad at him for it. Like, if I'm a Purdue fan,
hilarious.
I'm very excited about it. I will defend Purdue a little bit. Like, I'm excited if I'm a Purdue fan. I'm like, good job trying to take that flop right there and, like, sealing the game. I can get on the free throw line and really put this game away. Like, there's no problem with trying it. It was just absolutely ridiculous at the time, and it was so clearly a flop that, like, anybody that's not a Purdue fan is like, come on, bro. Like, right now, like, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Dylan has a lot
to say. Did you see that comment?
Dylan, we have to have you back on the show again soon. We've not had you in so long.
I want to know if Dylan thinks that like anything I said is wrong. But go ahead.
In fairness, like I thought I remember after that happening, like them showing a shot of Matt Painter where Matt Painter was just looking at him like, "What are you doing?" Like it's not like this is something that Matt Painter told him to go out there and do. Like, hey, go flop and try to get on the free throw line or something like that. Like, I get what you're saying, Kent. Like, if I'm a Purdue fan, I'm like, yes, try to get that foul and try to do that, and try to kind of put the game away there. By getting some easy points, but at the end of the day, it's like it's one of those things where it is what it is, and it was
just so extra, like it was so not necessary.
Like I don't think Matt Painter looks at him and he's like, "Hey, good job!" Like, yeah, do that again. He's just like, dude, like just play ball. Like
he was having a good game. Like,
yeah,
so
we're the better
weird.
team. Just go out there and play ball. So. I do want to get some super chats here. Dave says, the biggest thing I hate about SEC fan is the schools don't do crap in the SEC, but their fans think the other schools' accomplishments are their own. This is, and just give me the floor here for a second, guys. This is one of the biggest issues with trying to run a Big Ten podcast is like you say anything about another school and their accomplishments, and it's like, wow, no, but our school did this, and our school did, in the SEC, like I've watched SEC shows on like YouTube before and stuff, and like fans of Tennessee will be hyping up fans of Alabama and like, oh yeah, we are the greatest conference ever. Like nobody in the Big Ten does that to each other. Minnesota fans hate it when you say anything good about Iowa. Northwestern fans hate it if you say anything good about Illinois. Ohio State fans hate it if you say anything good about Michigan. Like it's like, oh, you're a traitor and you can't do anything. You're so biased, and it's like I'm just trying to talk as best I can here on it, but we all hate each other so much. It's very difficult to try and do a Big Ten. Sometimes I envy the SEC podcasters. Do you envy them as well, Kent?
I feel like I do exactly what this comment is saying. I do this on Twitter all the time. I defend everybody in the Big Ten, so like I really don't have a problem with it. Like,
but it's not the norm. Like no Big Ten fan. I shouldn't say no, but like not a lot of Big Ten fans do that. Like SEC fans do though.
No, like I got ripped literally today because I like retweeted a Barstool thing that said, like, basically we don't care that you guys don't like watching Purdue. Like it was a Stephen A. Smith like video. And like everybody in my comments was like, actually we all hate watching Purdue. And I was like, okay, like you're not a Purdue fan, but I like watching Purdue. So like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm not the one to answer this question because I kind of cape for everybody in the Big Ten. This is not a good question for me, I guess.
Or
Oh,
what do you
you're
think,
on mute.
Sheps?
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
What do you think, Sheps?
You can pretend like I'm not here
yeah,
if you want to talk
I
junk
don't know.
about me.
No, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying though. Like Kent is like 1 in a million with the way he like cheers on the entire Big Ten, and that's one of the reasons I like having him on is because he actually does cheer on the whole Big Ten. But then we have guests on who legitimately just hate everybody else in the Big Ten. And it's like it's honestly kind of funny.
It ebbs and flows, to be honest. I mean, right now Purdue is our biggest rival and has been for the past 2 years as far as trying to win championships. I'm jealous, obviously, that they advanced and we did not. I wasn't rooting for them.
If Purdue plays UConn in the national championship, who are you rooting for?
UConn, because then it makes our loss not look as bad.
Oh, okay. All right.
That makes sense. Were you? But did you want to see? Like, you don't want to see Tennessee beat Purdue, though.
Yeah, I had a future on Tennessee that I placed like way before the tournament. So
you got to out for everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, it helped, but I wouldn't have rooted for Purdue anyways.
Okay. I can't in good conscience cheer for the SEC at all.
I love how different the Big Ten is, and it's gotten even funnier, like doing a Big Ten podcast, seeing everybody hate each other in the Big Ten so much. And I mean, there are times when I roll my eyes, but yeah, Dave, good point to bring up. Dylan also says, paid my fine for not so family friendly content. This is a family program. Kent was the one that said boner.
That's true. Hey, that was a quote, though. I didn't really say that. Zach Edey said it. I was quoting him.
There you go. All right, I can't even catch up on the comments there. All right, that's our Purdue discussion. So hopefully it went well enough for everybody. Let's recap Illinois now. So we'll talk about Illinois defeats Iowa State 72-69. That was a really fun game, really cool. And steal at the end of the game, Coleman Hawkins decided to like dive off the court looking for that one ball, which we can talk about that for a minute if we want to. And then obviously the loss with UConn going on their 30-0 run like toward the end of the first half or something. I mean, that was just like
it was keeping
ridiculous.
track though.
Yeah, right. Like they brought that number up, and my heart literally sank. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, how does that happen? But Sheps, obviously, you're the one that was the most dialed in on these two games. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, the Iowa State game was interesting because it was not a pretty game. We all, talked about it leading up and the fact that it was the number one offense against the number one defense in the country. So, which one's going to win out? And Illinois definitely dominated the game in the first half. Actually led throughout the game too. Shannon was unstoppable in the first half as he had been for the past month. Showed why he was the best player in the tournament at that time. Things got pretty sloppy in the second half. Shannon got into foul trouble, had to sit for a long time. Incredible that he scored 29 points in 22 minutes in that game. But I was really impressed with Illinois in that one because I thought Brad did a good job coaching and made the adjustments that we needed to make and won a game in a way that we had not won games recently, more so like mucking it up on the defensive end and when the shots weren't falling for a long time. So the Java men were pretty happy with the way that game went because we showed like we could win in multiple ways. Even, when not playing our best basketball. And that was probably the best team that we've beaten in almost 2 seasons. Brad has been criticized for not being able to beat those top level teams. And Iowa State was no question a top level team, maybe not the same level of talent as some of those, as a UConn or something, but a really, really good team that was, inches away from being a 1 seed, beat the snot out of Houston, the week before. So really impressive win over Iowa State. We were feeling pretty good, obviously. But we were happy that Brad got the monkey off his back getting into the second weekend, and we were ecstatic with the chance to go to a Final Four. But that ended really quickly when we ran into the juggernaut of UConn. It was a very, very strange start to the game. I think we got down 9-0 almost immediately. It was clear that we had the wrong game plan from the very start. The game plan seemed to be go right at that monster, the Klingon, down low, and that was the wrong game plan. And then on top of that, we weren't making shots. We were able to hang around in the first half because UConn could not make a thing. So while some, might have been optimistic being only down a couple points at halftime, I was extremely nervous because I'd watched many UConn games. And I think I said this in the Java group chat during halftime. I said, this first couple minutes of the second half is everything, because this is exactly where UConn just puts teams away. Hurley makes his adjustments during halftime and they come out and they just bury you. It happens all the time in their games. Teams kind of hang around with them, and then within the first, 6 minutes of the second half, they're up by double digits almost every time. So when Brad rolled out Ty Rodgers to start the second half again, I knew the game was over. It was over.
Yeah.
The second half started exactly like how the game started. UConn goes on a run. Ty Rodgers gets pulled basically 2 minutes into the second half. Well, why wouldn't you just not start him in the second half? I don't know if he thinks like you have to start the same lineup at the start of the game in the second half. And then to add to that lack of adjustment, we just couldn't make a shot for our lives. Shannon was pretty much taken out of the game. Brad said during halftime too that we were just going to keep go. He said, I think the quote was, "I don't care if he blocks 300 shots. We're going to keep going at him," which doesn't really make any sense. UConn was, I think, 4th in the country at defense at the rim. And our best asset is the ability to spread the floor. You got to get Klingon out of the paint. So the game plan didn't really make sense to me. It was really a perfect storm of a bad game plan and a lack of, anybody really showing up. Any of our big players, just had their worst games, basically. You have to play a perfect game to beat UConn, and we really couldn't have played much worse. So that was kind of the result. We were 0 of 19 against Klingon on shots that he contested, which is an unbelievable stat. When he was on the floor, we basically just did not score any points. We should have been shooting more threes from the start. We only shot 7 threes in the first half. Probably should have been like double that. So yeah, the lack of adjustment, the lack of shot making led to a historically incredible run by UConn, 30-0 run. So yeah, it was a disappointing finish to a really good season. But unfortunately, yeah, the game was over the second the second half started.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't hate the game plan of going at Klingon at the beginning. Like, with the first 5 minutes, just go straight at him and see if you can get him to pick up a foul or two, and maybe get him in trouble and get him off the court. And obviously, that opens things up for you a little bit more. So I don't know if I like Ty Rodgers being in there. I think you probably need Luke Goody in there instead to keep Klingon honest. But at the end of the day, like, they just weren't getting the calls, and I felt like they went after him pretty well. I think there was some questionable, I'm not going to say either way, but I think there could have been calls on Klingon. I'm not saying it was necessarily the wrong call that it wasn't called on him, but there could have been some calls. And if you get one or two of those, then it's a completely different game at that point. Because, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally the only time they couldn't score was when Klingon was on the court. If he was off the court, it was open season.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
were
like
close. Yeah, they definitely could have called that second foul on him, like late in the first half. Um, it's just that it's not like we haven't played a player like him before. We get to face
right.
Zach Edey multiple times, and we saw how that worked out when he was guarding Ty Rodgers. It just doesn't work. You have to go to your strength, which is our ability to spread the floor. You have to get Klingon out of the paint. You have to get Zach Edey out of the paint. So didn't like the game plan. I understand what he was trying to do, but it was very clear that it wasn't working very early on, and we didn't see any adjustment. That was the problem. Okay, the game plan is this. Okay, it's not working. Try something else, and we didn't see that, unfortunately, in this game.
Yeah, I mean, there should have been a second option. There should have been something else that Brad could have went to in a pinch or something like that. But I mean, that's kind of what you get with Brad Underwood, right? We've talked about it a lot this season. He has trouble adjusting during the games. He can build a roster and he can do a really good job of getting the right guys on the court to mesh well together and work well together. But at the end of the day, he does fail in those in games. Not all the time, but sometimes he will fail in those in game adjustments, and
Yeah.
that's obviously really hard. So, Kent, your thoughts?
Specifically about that game plan, I was just pulling this up on my phone. I had a live tweet that said, attacking the basket against the tallest dude on the floor is not working. That was my official expert analysis mid-game there. And I think Shaps will agree with me on that. I didn't like that game plan at all. I definitely think they should have stopped doing that almost immediately. Don't have a ton of other thoughts. I think obviously Shaps covers Illinois way better than I'm going to say anything about them. But it is interesting, though, when you look at these two games. And again, when I'm going through my tweets, that's kind of how I remember games is I'll go back to tweets that I did live during the game. And immediately during the Iowa State game, I said, my basketball eyes are saying that Illinois is better. Almost immediately you can see that. And it's kind of been a theme in Illinois games this year. Immediately in the UConn game, I was like, man, if this is going to continue, in the first 5 minutes, you can get a vibe this is not going to end well. And I felt that vibe in both games. I was very confident in the Iowa State game, right off the tip. I was like, this team is way better than them right now. On this night, I'm not saying that they're way better than them every single night, but on this night, Illinois is much better than Iowa State. And then I felt the exact opposite way when I was watching the UConn game. So it's just tough, man. Like I was telling Shaps before we started recording, though, great season for Illinois, though. They have nothing to be ashamed of. I think that they met expectations for this year. Some people in my mention said that they exceeded expectations because they were picked to be third in the Big Ten as opposed to second, and they were really the second best team in the Big Ten throughout the year. I mean, you have a banner. You got a Big Ten tournament championship. You got to the Elite Eight for the first time since – you got to the Sweet 16 for the first time since I think it was 2005. I don't know when the last time the Elite Eight happened. Shaps, when was that?
Same year.
Oh, the same year was 2005? Okay, so.
Yeah, when they went to the championship.
I mean, Brad Underwood, I like to listen to some of the stuff after the game almost even more than, what happened in the game because, Brad was talking about after the game, we're not going away. This is going to be a contender every year. We will be back next year. This is going to happen again. So I like the fire. I think that Illinois had a great year. It was very fun to follow this team this year. It was very fun to watch them in person for the 3 or 4 games that I got to see them in Minnesota. So great season for them. Nothing to be ashamed of. Like I said, a great year.
Yeah, no, this was his best coaching job was this season, I thought. Terrence Shannon had one of the best seasons of an Illinois player in history. So it was an incredible season. Underwood is an elite program builder and an improving coach. He's just very stubborn at times, but he got the monkey off his back, got to the second weekend, basically has a contract for life now, in our eyes, and probably in the administration's eyes. He got us back to where we belong, which is in the conversation of the top programs in the country, competing for championships in the Big Ten, obviously, and trying to get to Final Fours. You know, you're one of the last 8 teams standing. It's really hard to do. So we're very grateful for Undy and the program that he's built for us.
And I want to bring this up because I've had this thought, and I need you guys to confirm it. Shaps, I feel like you will, but Illinois was number 4 in the media preseason poll. Illinois was still one of the 4 best teams in this tournament, in my mind, because if they played any other team other than UConn or Purdue, Illinois is most likely in the Final Four right now. I mean, Alabama doesn't beat them. Clemson doesn't beat them. Duke doesn't beat them. NC State doesn't beat them. In Tennessee, maybe, but I still don't think Tennessee does.
NC State? NC State?
I don't think NC State beats them.
Have you seen them play?
I have seen them play, but they
You
also
seen this guy, DJ Burns?
I have seen DJ Burns, but I also don't think
Do you not?
Duke is
I
very
feel
good.
like you don't believe in March Madness right now, dude.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
or March
saying, like,
Magic,
on
I should
paper.
say. Do you believe in the
paper.
magic of March?
Yeah. Like magic of Christmas too? Yeah. I believe in all the magic.
I
All
don't
the
think
holiday
DJ
magic.
Burns loses to the Lakers right now.
So you're
That's how
going
I
to
feel.
pick DJ Burns to beat Zach Edey then?
Definitely not on this show. I'm not.
But I mean, just like
Is-
if you look at it, if Illinois plays any of these other teams other than Purdue, I think they have a very, very good shot of making it into the Final Four. Sure, DJ Burns might have his magic. That's fine. But at the end of the day, like, I think this team and Purdue were the worst possible matchups for them to get into the Final Four. And unfortunately, they just played UConn because they were put in the most difficult region of the NCAA tournament. I mean, I don't think there's any question that was the most difficult region, right?
Yeah, it was a tough draw with UConn. It's a tough draw, but we had a very, very good draw in the first couple of games. So tends to balance out sometimes like that. Unfortunately, yeah, we ran into a historically good team.
Yep.
Yeah, we could have competed a lot better against non-UConn teams, I would imagine.
Right.
But also, if we shot the ball like we did against UConn, it would not have mattered.
That's true. That's true. Etch asks, JR, do you think Underwood is above criticism? I don't know whose criticism, but the criticism, like, I think he deserves the criticism for being an in-game coach, especially in this situation here where he didn't adjust the way he should have. But, like, I mean, I feel like you got what you wanted from Underwood this season. Like, it sucks because, like, you wanted more for Coleman Hawkins. You wanted more for, all the other seniors on this team. There's so many of them, but I mean, you wanted more for all of those guys, but at the end of the day, and I know they're doing that like waiver thing for Damask. He's probably not going to get it. So he's probably not going to come back, but like, you hate that for them. But at the end of the day, like, if somebody was like, man, that stinks that you have Underwood as your coach after this year, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a top 10 coach in college basketball in my mind. Like, not saying that he's, like the best or anything, but I would be very, very happy if Brad Underwood were my head coach because of the way that he's able to put a roster together. And like you just said, Kent, March has magic to it. And so all you got to do is catch that magic one year and you can find yourself in the national championship game. And then it's just, does the ball bounce the right way a few times? So I don't know.
We're not going to revisit the Big Banter coaches power rankings from the preseason.
Yeah,
Was I on that show?
no, that was, I don't know what Big Banter was doing there. Then I think he was
quite the
like
list.
8th or something like that. He was barely top 10 in the Big Ten.
Somebody will tell me in the comments. I think he was like 6th or 7th. So yeah, he was something like that. He was in
Yeah.
like not the top half.
I'll have to go.
Hey,
find him later.
he can be second as far as I'm concerned, as long as he's behind my boy Collins. That's all I care about. That's my boy.
Chris Collins #1, huh?
That's
Chris
fine.
Collins #1 in my heart, and then
That's
anybody
fine. I
else
still
after
didn't
that,
take them seriously though the entire season, Jr.
I believe you, Sheps. Even when they beat Dusty May in Florida Atlantic, right?
No, FAU stunk.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even after they beat them, you still didn't take them seriously.
Yeah, I told the Java men that if they beat UConn, I would take them seriously. I would officially,
obviously.
if they beat UConn, that would cancel out the loss to Chicago State.
You lose
That's
to one
harsh.
of the worst teams.
That's
in the
harsh,
nation.
Shaps.
You get to
Come
beat
on,
one of the
man.
best. That's funny.
I don't make the rules. That's the decision tree is what it is. Did you lose to Chicago State? If
That's
the answer
it?
is yes, I don't take you seriously. If the answer is no, I can take you seriously.
Wow,
Just don't
that's tough,
schedule
man.
Chicago
That's a
State
tough
anymore.
decision tree right there.
That's awesome. Yeah, Illinicast says Underwood was 8th in the B-ball poll.
Yikes.
I can't even fathom who was in front of. I bet Chris Holtman was in front of him, and that would. Wow.
Yes, he was for sure.
What about Howard? Where was he at?
Hopefully last. I don't know. But I hope he was last. Oh my. All right. Well, we got to do our commercial because I told him we would. So let's do our commercial and then we'll get to Maryland and we'll get to Dain Dainja stuff there at the end. Looking to rep your alma mater or your favorite team in style? Look no further than Home Field. Home Field, based in Indianapolis, is your go-to destination for premium collegiate apparel. With a passion for comfort and a flair for vintage design, Home Field brings you officially licensed gear that is cozy as it is stylish. With over 150 colleges to choose from, Home Field digs deep into the archives, uncovering forgotten logos, iconic mascots, and legendary moments to create apparel that is truly one of a kind. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com. Use my code TBTH for 15% off for new customers, or use my link in the description. If you're a serious college basketball fan, you need CBB Analytics. CBB Analytics isn't just another stats site. It's the ultimate destination for in-depth basketball analysis. Used by fans and coaches alike, CBB Analytics delivers stats that you won't find anywhere else. It has comprehensive stats for men's and women's basketball across Division 1 through 3, dating all the way back to 2018. From shooting percentages to game recaps, CBB Analytics has it all. Head on over to cbbanalytics.com. With their user-friendly interface and extensive selection, you'll have all the stats you need right at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Try CBB Analytics for free or pay for a pro tier for your basketball knowledge to grow to the next level. CBB Analytics, where every stat tells a story and every game is a masterpiece. Are we back?
We're back.
My thing messed up there. All right, really fast before I move on, because
Home Field, by the way, Home Field apparel, that's big time. I've got a bunch of shirts from them already,
awesome.
that I've already owned. They've got awesome stuff. They've got Flying Illini gear. I bought this Hawaii shirt that like the Rainbow Warriors on it. A lot of cool stuff.
I bought an Orange Crush shirt from there, and unfortunately I got back ordered, so it's not coming until like I don't know, June or something like that. I was like, darn it, I wanted to wear it on the show. All right, here's the rankings. Matt Painter, Tom Izzo, Fran McCaffrey, number 3, Steve Peichel, who his entire team disagrees with this because they've left and gone into the portal. Mike Woodson obviously does not believe in three-pointers. Somehow he is 5th. Chris Collins, there you go. He's underrated for you there. And yes, Chris Holtman, 1 spot above Brad Underwood. The crazy amount of issues with that right there. And there's your boy Juwan Howard there for you, Kent. So, yeah, these were the big banter Big Ten coach rankings. And if I'm not mistaken, we didn't vote on those, right, Chaps? Like, we weren't allowed to vote on those.
I don't think so. No, we destroyed them in our early season podcast.
As you should.
That's
Ted,
it. That's
do you have
it.
any
That was an
reaction to those?
interesting list to go back to because of both the top and the bottom. Like Ben Johnson being last is interesting to me because of how good of a season he had this year. I mean, I know they still finished like 10th in the Big Ten, but like still a big improvement for Minnesota this year. But also Matt Painter being first based on what in the preseason? I don't really understand that. Like, obviously he's earned that now at this point, but in the preseason, that doesn't make any sense to me. No offense to Purdue fans who already like love me so much.
Yeah, I mean, he came off the win from the Big Ten the year before, so I guess that, does it for him. But yeah, Bootzilla, Underwood 8th. That was our. These are not our rankings, by the way. Please do not think that I made those rankings. Please, for the love of everything, do not think I made those rankings. Do not put those rankings on me. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's just like absolutely insane what those rankings were. So, all right, let's go on here.
Bunch of idiots over there, if you ask me. I'm just kidding.
Not us.
I'm kidding.
Not me and Sheps. All right, so Maryland loses 3. They actually lost 4. It's just one of them isn't actually on the Swanson Roger. He's not on like any of the sites, so it's one of those weird things. But Noah Batchelor, Jonathan Lamoth, and Jamie Kaiser entered today, but they have gotten Jacoby Gillespie and Rodney Rice. Gillespie is 18th and 14th in 24/7 and on 3, and Rodney Rice is 59th and 71 and on 3 and 24/7. Some talk right now about Deshaun Harris-Smith could be on the move. Tipton, that guy that does all the edits and stuff like that, he started following Deshaun Harris-Smith on Twitter. So obviously that's something that is kind of like a death sentence sometimes. But from everything I was reading, it sounds like he is not going into the portal, that he was just kind of like debating it for a little bit, but he's not going to. So, but they are going to probably add at least 2 more guys. Gibson Jimerson from St. Louis is one more. And then Brandon Huntley Hatfield, I forget where he's from, but they are going to most likely add them, or they are trying to add them as well. So, guys, we'll leave it to you. Kent, let's leave it to you first. How would you grade Maryland basketball in the transfer portal with who they picked up and who they have lost so far?
I would not be giving them a grade yet because I don't even know the guys that are coming in yet. I haven't been able to watch any of their tape yet or anything, which I know it's called casual Big Ten, but every guy that comes into this conference, I watch tape on them, believe it or not. And the biggest name that you just said right now that I'm kind of like thinking that could still move to the Big Ten and give somebody valuable minutes is Noah Batchelor. I thought he should have got some minutes this year. I mentioned him before on the show. I think that he is an athletic kid that could give somebody some bench minutes that maybe could have used it this year. Somebody like Penn State, or like, I have no information on him whatsoever, by the way. I'm just throwing out schools, but some people that struggled like with the bench this year, I think they could really use him, and they should be looking at him to join their team this year. But like I said, haven't been able to watch any of these new guys yet, and it's just crazy to me, JR. I talked to you about this last year, like how quickly everything's moving. It feels like every year it's getting faster and faster. I'm still trying to enjoy college basketball, and I got to go find out where Jamie Kaiser is going to go to school next year. Like, can I get a break, bro? Like, we have to. I know some coaches have been complaining about this, and maybe it's because I'm pushing 40 already now, but, like, can we push this back until the end of the season at least, man? Give a brother a break. I can't be throwing out all these fake tweets about guys going to different schools that I haven't even heard anything about yet. Just saying, like, wouldn't this be cool if he went to this school? I don't have time for that right now. I'm trying to enjoy the game. So can we just wait a little bit? You guys with me on that at least?
Yeah, that's what Brad Underwood was saying, right, Shaps?
Yeah, I hadn't even dipped my toe into the portal before today. Obviously, I was busy watching my team, which is I don't envy the coaches who are trying to win a national championship and also got to keep one eye on the portal, who's dropping into there and who we might need for next season. So yeah, I haven't been paying close attention. I did see a lot of changes on the Maryland side, and it's interesting because it seems like Willard's, I don't know if he's cleaning house, but I think he feels some pressure where, and like these younger guards can obviously, read the room a little bit where he's already recruiting over them, right? He got that Belmont guard. He has to replace Jameer Young, which isn't easy.
Right.
And he doesn't have time to wait for some freshman or sophomore to hopefully develop. He has to win now. So we see it all the time now where guys just realize like, oh, like I'm just not going to play next year either because I'm already getting recruited over. So not a surprise to see changes like that made, especially when a coach is going to be feeling the pressure to, have a better showing in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think Jamie Kaiser is a loss. I know that Willard was, recruiting over him a little bit in the portal, but I think at the end of the day, based on what I read, he would have been fine if he didn't get somebody better than Kaiser and just go with Kaiser instead. But unfortunately, players are smart and they can read that kind of stuff and be like, if you're trying to get somebody better than me, then I'm going to go somewhere else because obviously you don't believe in me enough because what's going to stop you from doing this again next year, so I mean, obviously, you want guys to believe in themselves and work hard and that kind of stuff, but like, let's be honest, that's just not the kind of player that's out there right now as much this year, like, or not this year, like right now, these times, it's just not happening as much. 18-year-olds aren't coming in with this dog mentality or whatever you want to call it, that like I'm going to beat out the guy in front of me every single time and move on from them and do this stuff and whatever. I'm probably not explaining it super well, but at the end of the day, like the portal is just a really, really easy temptation for players to go to. And if you're not giving them like 100% assurance, they're going to go into the portal, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So, Kent, I know you do your dream players to other teams and stuff like that, but are there any of these players, Bachelor, Lamoth, Kaiser, Swanson, Roger, any of these guys that you feel like could make it on a Big Ten team next year?
When I do that, I literally just pick out like what the team is that I haven't tweeted about the most recently and just put them on that team. That's usually what I do. So like
Wow.
right now I would probably say like Jamie Kaiser. I haven't tweeted about like Minnesota in a while. I'd be like, wouldn't Minnesota be cool? And then like you have to think about it. You go, wait, that actually like wouldn't that would be cool actually if he was at Minnesota. So that's basically what I do when I see the announcements. I've done it with a couple of your tweets, by the way. So I appreciate you getting those announcements out there so I can do my fake like wouldn't this be cool tweets. So
All for you.
that's
Kent.
really all I do.
All for you, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sometimes they hit, like the fans are like, yes, that would be cool. And then like sometimes they're like, no, that is a terrible idea. And I'm just like, well, I just put a different team on somebody, so sorry.
It's just casual. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Shaps, you have any ideas for guys that could go to another Big Ten school out of Maryland right now?
No, because I don't think I've seen any of those guys actually play. Because
Kaiser played a little bit, but
when I watched Maryland, there was only 2 or 3 guys it seemed playing. It was Jameer Young, it was Dante Scott, and Julian Reese. Those were the only 3 players that were noticeable when they played Illinois. So no, but I do love portal season. It might be my favorite season on the sports calendar now. It's just so it's so exciting. You got guys with 300 followers saying, so-and-so is committed here. It's already a done deal.
Well,
So
let's just keep the portal season madness going with Dain Dainja. You know a thing or two about him, Shaps.
Fake announcement. That's not real. It's April Fool's Day. It's not real.
It was an April Fool's. Okay.
It's not real. He's staying.
I myself am a Dain Dainja enjoyer, I guess, as you could put it. I know that people do that as their Twitter names and stuff, but yeah, he's one of my favorite players. And honestly, if he took a visit to Ohio State, I would be stoked because that would be awesome considering we have no offensive post presence right now. But at the end of the day, like I think I mean, you could probably explain it better than I could, Shaps, but Dain Dainja doesn't fit into the mold of what Brad Underwood wants to go for in the future. Is that a good way to describe it, Shaps?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And it's not that
Uh,
Dain Dainja's a bad player; he just doesn't
no,
fit the mold.
no, it's nothing against Dane. It took a long time for Brad to come around on this. Last year, Dane started almost every game, and almost every game we would get off to a bad start. This year, Brad finally embraced the the fact that we have a huge advantage against almost every team when Dane is not on the court, because of Coleman Hawkins' versatility, ability to spread the floor. Dane is not Kofi. He's not, Zach Edey. Those guys are cheat codes, and you cater your team. You can build around those guys. If you land one of those guys, you go out of your way to make them the center of what you're trying to do. It doesn't matter what you want to do. That's your best chance of winning. But Dane is not, he's not like that. You don't, build your team around somebody like Dane. He dominates the mid majors mostly. He did have a really good Big Ten tournament this season, but for the most part, he was really good in the tournament in the NCAA tournament because we played Morehead State and Duquesne, where he has an advantage against those guys because they don't have big guys. But when you're playing in the Big Ten or you're playing against UConn, their big is probably better than Dane. And so Brad finally embraced the fact that the best chance for us to win is playing to our strength. And Dane, it's nothing against Dane really. He is a solid player, at least offensively. He can do a lot of things, but it's just not going to work for what Brad wants to do now. They've got versatile bigs. Amani Hansberry showed a little bit this season. They've got the Illinois Player of the Year, Morez Johnson, coming next year, who can, step out and shoot the ball at like 6'10". So there's going to be more of that. And Dane, he can get more minutes elsewhere. So not surprised, obviously, to see him go. As our friend in the chat says here, I think that's Nick. Yep, Southside OC. We will forever love the Dancing Bear, as Brad liked to call him. He was definitely a fan favorite. There was a lot of crying from fans about, him getting more minutes and he should be on the court more and this and that. But the reality is we were not as good of a team for the most part when Dane was on the court. There was a reason that his minutes continued to shrink this season, and we played better and better because of that, because we had a huge advantage when he was not on the court. So unfortunately for Dane, yeah, it's just not going to be here at Illinois, but best of
Where's
luck
he going,
to Dane.
Chaps? Where's he going? Spill the beans. We
It
want to know where he's
depends how
going.
much. Yeah, if JR's already contributed to the Ohio State collective, I think Dane might be catching a pretty big price tag.
All your super chat money goes to the Ohio State NIL to sign Dain Dainja.
Just for Dain Dainja?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm sure JR is making up the t-shirts and everything to get the Dancing Bear to Columbus. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, yeah, he can definitely play on another Big Ten team, but he would also dominate at a mid-major level. So be curious to see what kind of attention he gets, but best of luck to Dane in the portal.
Bootzilla has a good thought. Dane go back home to Minnesota. Kent, I think you'd like that.
I would love that.
Enjoy you some Minnesota basketball, and obviously they've lost a number of players in the portal so far this year. I mean, would you like to see Dane back with the Golden Gophers?
It's funny. I would love that on the surface level, but your second comment about all of my favorite players leaving, it's like, nah. I don't think I'm going to be on the Minnesota train again next year.
They got Hawkins
there's
back.
they got who now? Elijah?
Elijah Hawkins, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's exciting.
Is
But
Christie gone?
They were talking about he might test for the NBA, but
Makes sense. Yeah.
the fact that he hasn't announced it yet it's like every day it goes by that he hasn't announced, it's kind of like more hope is garnered type of deal. But I still think Dawson Garcia is going to go to the portal, and he still hasn't done it yet. So who knows? I don't know.
that'd be crazy if he stayed. But yeah, no, I'd be excited if he went to Minnesota. I'm always going to be excited about these guys that I have cheered for throughout this year staying in the conference. Like, obviously, I'd like them to, I love people portaling just as much as the next guy, but I would love for them to stay at their own school. Would be really nice. Obviously, again, like I said, I'm getting old now, but if they are going to leave, which I encourage them to do, stay in the conference so that we can have these fun rivalries of guys playing against schools that they were at the previous year. That's really fun. I like that a lot.
It was fun. It was fun seeing the way Minnesota fans would troll Jamison Battle and stuff like that when he went back there.
Exactly like Jamison Battle.
Yeah,
what if more Jamison Battles?
What if hypothetically a player at Wisconsin decided to, go a few hours
That'd be
south?
Weird. That'd be really weird. Who you thinking?
Hypothetically?
Chucky Hepburn?
Number one player in the portal for 24/7. Yeah.
If you just had to randomly pick a guy from Wisconsin, who would you pick?
I don't know. I don't.
Connor Esigian, there's Chucky Hepburn.
I don't know. I've seen some rumors, but I know Scary Alvarez was saying there was no chance that this guy was going to transfer, according to his sources. So I still refuse to believe the rumors.
No
Can't
way.
Be true.
Are you thinking the same guy I'm thinking right now?
I don't know. I don't know who you're thinking.
AJ Storr is not transferring. There's no way, dude.
Hypothetically.
There's no way.
You're right. Scary Alvarez knows.
The crazy thing is I was hearing about that before the Big Ten tournament. I was hearing about that.
Dude, I heard about it in January. Everyone knew
really?
he was going to transfer after the season. Yeah.
The first time I heard about it was late February, early March. I was like, where are people hearing about this from? And how am I not hearing about it?
You gotta go below deck. You gotta
below deck.
Yeah,
this is an above deck podcast right here.
Yeah, well, we've got some people on the job event that like to do some deep sea diving and see what they can come up with, and we'll tell you they've got a very high hit percentage below deck.
Nice.
That's interesting. I will say, though, just specifically, if we're going to end on this topic of AJ Storr, that man deserves to be in the NBA. He shouldn't be transferring anywhere. I think he's NBA ready. That's just me.
Next year he is.
Nah, he's ready right now.
I don't think so.
We just got done saying how bad the NBA draft is. You don't think he's ready? Maybe. I mean, I hope for your sake, Shaps, I hope he comes to Illinois and.
Whoa! I didn't say that.
Okay.
Whoa.
I mean, that'd be crazy if that happened, but if it does happen, that'd
would
be awesome. Yeah,
it would be hypothetically
insane,
crazy, but there's no way. There's no way because
true.
There's no way. True. Yeah, there's no way.
Etch, I don't know if you watched when we had Nick on last and Scary was on with us, but I do really, really like Scary. He is an interesting taste for Twitter and everything else, and at the end of the day, I know he does rub people the wrong way, but at the end of the day, it's like you need kind of a villain on there to really just go after people and do stuff, and it makes it more interesting to me. So I'm not saying I want to go do what Scary does, but Scary does make my Twitter feed more interesting, which I appreciate that. And he was awesome. We had him on the show. He was really cool to talk to. So no bad things being said about Scary from me. He's fun to talk to.
I like him too. I like him on Twitter.
Yeah, he's fun with that stuff. So Shaps, I guess going forward here, no Dain Dainja, big man, gonna have to go after in the portal. Everybody's heard the rumblings about the Stanford guy, and he's like number 2 in 24/7. So you get AJ Storr, you get the Stanford guy. That's like 1-2. I mean, you're like Ohio State, the football off season for Illinois. I mean, is this a realistic possibility? Could you see this happening?
Yeah, I don't put anything past Brad. He's shown he can identify talent. He can reel in the big fish. I think that going deep into the tournament this year would only help him. Try to land some of those players. It'll be interesting to see. I know there's a lot of names out there. Last year Brad didn't really make a big splash in the portal. He went out and found Marcus Damask, who became first team All Big Ten. So he went down to the Utah Valley to get Justin Harmon. He missed out on a lot of the big names. So we'll see what happens this year, but we have full faith in Brad being able to fill in the gaps and field a competitive team again.
I mean, I'm just saying right now, if you get the Stanford Center and AJ Storr next year, I'm picking Illinois to win the Big Ten. Like, that is a heck of a duo to get out of there. And
it'd be pretty good. Yeah, maybe Vlad Golden from down in Boca wants to come up and compete against his old coach.
I'll take Purdue with Zach Edey again next year.
Wow.
Is he coming back?
No, he's not.
That'd be insane.
That sounded like you did not want that to happen. He's not coming back, I don't think. No.
I actually kind of do. I kind of want that to happen. Yeah, like everyone's so sick, me included, of watching him play basketball. It'd be hysterical.
Yes.
Like the ultimate villain move.
Yeah, it would be an insane troll if he just came back and won another Player of the Year.
It'd be great.
Then he would have more Player of the Year awards than he had D1 offers.
Great point.
How disrespected he
True.
was.
The most overlooked player in the history of the game.
He'd probably still talk about it on the podium next year.
For sure would.
Nobody believed in me.
Rick Barnes, you never believed in me. Rick Barnes wasn't even in the tournament this year, Zach. He didn't believe in me, though.
That'd be hilarious. If he just keeps calling out Rick Barnes every year, like he's in the NBA. He wins like Rookie of the Year, gets up there, he's like, Rick Barnes never believed in me.
He might be my new favorite NBA player, but of course I don't watch the NBA, so that's the problem.
Oh, Rick Barnes.
All right. Hey, good episode, guys. Appreciate it. Shaps, you want to tell people where they can find Java Men at?
Yep, you can follow us on Twitter, of course, Illini_JavaMen. You find our podcast on Spotify. We'll be doing a post-mortem here shortly, where we will further debate how Brad did this season and what the future might hold.
Very good. Very good. Kent, you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, I'll be on Twitter, Casual Big Ten, just putting out banger after banger every single day on Twitter. That's all I do, man. So
More
come find me on there.
Of Big Ten hockey versus SEC hockey, right?
Yeah. I took some heat for the hockey thing, but we talked about that already. But everyone was wrong. I'm right because it's my Twitter account, so I'm right, and everyone else just has to take that. So.
And shout out Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes for taking down LSU tonight. She
Didn't
had
get to watch the end of that.
I think she hit a record 9 threes, had 40-something points. So pretty impressive.
Fantastic.
I will say though, I really hope
you should
that
put her in the 2-on-2 tournament, Kit.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. Her and like just some like not a good player, but just like very.
Her and Edie.
Okay, they would have won for sure.
Her and Dain.
Oh, there we go.
Like Yeah, somebody like that, like just like an average to good player, like her and Dain, like that would have been interesting. No, but I will say that I am really hoping at this point because that game was fun to watch. I only got to watch like the first half basically, but USC, I think they playing right now, but the Juju Watkins, also a very fun player to watch. By the way, it's the only other girl that I know besides Caitlin Clark and some of the girls on Iowa. I'll be honest. Like I know Gabby Marshall and a couple of the other girls, but like the only other girl on a different team is Juju Watkins, and man, she can ball, dude. So if I don't know, can that even be the championship, or is that going to be a Final Four game? Do we know? How locked in are you guys on this?
I think it's the Elite Eight right now.
Yeah.
No, I know, but they would play in the Elite Eight. Or
yeah, I don't know what side of the bracket they're on, but yeah, it just went to halftime with USC and UConn. And UConn has a star player too, in Paige Buchers.
Yeah.
She kind of like is forgotten. She was the best player on the planet 2 years ago, and then she blew out her knee, I think, last year. But she's been awesome again this year. It's just Caitlin Clark kind of steals the show. But yeah, that freshman on USC, Juju, is
it looks like they're going to play in the Final Four because on my app it says NC State is playing South Carolina, and that's already like announced. So it would be either way, it's going to be Iowa versus UConn, which is iconic, or Iowa versus USC, which is to me going to be the two best players in women's basketball right now. Like the one that has been and the one that I'm not saying she's a has-been. The one that has been the best player in college basketball for women and the one that will be, I think, when all is said and done in Juju Watkins. It's going to be a great game if they play each other. That'd be great.
That would be fun for sure. Oh, shout out to the Illini women's basketball too. They won their game today in the semifinals of like the women's NIT tournament. So they're going to the championship. I think it's in Indy actually.
Let's go. Let's get it. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
I was like, the Illinois women's are doing really well in the NIT, and the Purdue women's are doing really well in the NIT. It was like the men's only reversed in the NIT. So
interesting.
Shaps, before we go, Fisherman's asking, what do you think of Jake Davis, the new Illinois commit from Mercer? I know he's a good shooter.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. That was the big addition today in the portal for the Illini. Yeah, I guess he was only a freshman at Mercer, so pretty impressive. That he's able to step up, and he didn't even like start every game for them. I think he mostly was the sixth man, but he's 40% 3-point shooter, can score in different ways, bigger bodied guard, like a Damask type. He's not going to be like as good, in the post, but I'm sure they can develop that part of his game and never hurts to add more shooting.
Yeah. I mean, get a guy out there to spread the floor. If nothing else, just him being out there is going to help in those ways. So, if anything, Brad Underwood looked at Ty Rodgers and was like, I got to get some guys who can actually spread the floor. So maybe I'll grab this kid.
Yeah. Still love Ty.
Oh, yeah.
He's a dog.
Ty. It's just when the other team has an Edie or a Klingon, it's really, really hard to play him. It's just that's the unfortunate fact of it. So, Illinicast says, great show, JR and Shaps. Decent effort, Kent.
Oof.
So,
decent
is better than bad.
I actually was just typing and responding that said I would consider my effort below average. So thank you.
You met expectations, I'd say.
I think I met or barely did not meet expectations, I would say, at this point. It was either below average or average. So average to me was like, wow, what a compliment. Yeah. Or decent. He said decent effort. That's quite the compliment.
I was gonna say decent is better than average. So
if my wife was like, you put in decent effort today, I'd be like, wow, thanks, babe. What did I do to how could I repeat this tomorrow for you?
Can't go tell your wife you're gonna put in decent effort every day of your marriage and in your fatherhood, and it sounds like you'll be okay after that. So
yeah, that's true. True. It's good talking ball with you boys, though.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for being here.
Always
Thanks for
fun.
watching. Thank you, Shaps and Kent, for being here, being on the show. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday night, for a football episode. Wednesday night to preview the Final Four, and then we'll be back on Sunday nights next week. I think on Sunday night. Just look out for tweets. If I change it, I might have to change it. But yeah, just look out for tweets. So, see you everybody. Have a good one.
Did he just disappear?
What happened?
Dude, we're still live right now. He didn't end it.
Uh-oh. Are we still here?